everyone, I'm Ray and welcome to my channel. For today's video I thought I'd do the Autumn Palette Challenge by Sophira-Lou Illustrations. Now I know in her piece she did use the Ecoline liquid watercolours so she could get lots of different tones and variations with just one product, but I don't have any of those. I only have one, which is a Dr. P.H. Martin's one, and that's in magenta. And for this challenge you are only supposed to use red, orange, yellow, green and brown. So I'm going to be using my Promarkers and my Copics. So I've got the sketch and some of the Chow ones as well. So those are the ones that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using multiple different tones because obviously with one marker you can only layer it up so much and you can't really dilute it to get lighter colours and so on and so forth. So I'm going to be using different tones of the same colours, but they're all going to be either red, orange, yellow, green or brown. And I'm going to try and limit it as much as possible, so no like yellow greens or blue greens, so like just in the green family. Same with the reds really, so no sort of, well, no sort of purplish reds. So I can stick with like oranges, reds, I might, because orange is in the colour scheme. But yeah, so I've drawn out this little autumn fairy and I'm going to have her touch in the leaves and turn in them brown, red, brown, orange. And then I'm not entirely sure whether I want to do the bits in between the leaves really dark or if I want to do it lighter. So that's a decision that I'll have to make. I've also got some little berries and bits and pieces to go in there as well to try and get a bit more of that red. And I also wanted to make her wings kind of like maple leaves when they change in the autumn and they go that lovely sort of reddy orange, just they look like they're on fire. Is the best way I can describe it. I love them, they're so pretty. So that is the plan. I'm probably going to end up going over them with a little bit of coloured pencil at the end just to get a little bit more texture, because I'm not the best with alcohol markers and I am trying to get better with practice, so perfect thing to try and use them with. But yeah, so I'm hoping that I won't have to use any sort of watercolours or anything like that. I'm hoping to keep it mainly Promarkers with a little bit of coloured pencil. I might also spice it up a bit with some gold at the end because, I mean, gold's really just metallic yellow, right? So that counts, just for some little sparkly bits on her dress. Maybe on her horns, maybe. But yeah, so I'm really excited to get on and do this challenge. I'm kind of nervous because it's not really a colour palette that I usually go with. I usually tend to stick to sort of more blues and pinks rather than really warm colour palettes. So it's going to be definitely a challenge, but hopefully it'll be okay and I'll have fun and I won't panic too much when the inevitable blending comes in with regards to the leaves, because I'm a little bit worried about blending from green to red. But I guess, yeah, I'll figure something out. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me and let's crack on. Okay, so I thought I'd try something a bit different this time and do a little bit of voiceover to explain what I'm doing, because I've noticed that when I'm editing there seems to be, as much as I like the music, it just seems to be a very long sort of swathe of music with nothing in between. So I figured that instead of that I'd probably pop in and try and explain at least a little bit of what I'm doing. I started off with this skin with the markers and I immediately noticed that they bled more than I anticipated, which was fun. Especially I did all the line up with the ballpoint pen, which I've never really had any issues with, but when I was doing the wings and I was really layering it on and rubbing at it, it sort of left a greeny tinge, which was okay because it kind of looked like the end of her wings were kind of the leaves that were still a little bit green, so that was fine. I did struggle a bit with the hair, getting the very ends and the tips to be sharp, which is one of the main reasons why I wouldn't round her in the end with a white ballpoint gel pen even, because there was quite a few sort of pointy bits which weren't as pointy as I wanted them to be. So I figured if I went around it with a white gel pen then I could clean up the lines a bit, which worked out quite well. I really enjoyed how the leaves came out on her wings. I wanted them to be more orange than red so that they kind of complemented her hair without blending into it, which I think ended up okay, but I could have probably gone a bit darker with an orange towards like her back where they join, but overall I'm happy with the way that they blended, and it was that sunflower yellow. Promarker has got to be my favourite yellow. It's so warm and it reminds me of honey. I actually went and had honey on toast after this, so it was quite fun. the paper did sort of soak up the markers a little bit more than I was anticipating. I was really impressed with it. It's the Canson XL mixed media paper, and with, like, especially with the wings, with the amount of alcohol ink I layered on there, I mean that paper took some abuse. But there's no speckling on the finished piece at all. Ooh, cake break time! This is where having access to the RV red violet sort of copied markers that I've got would have been brilliant, because I did all of these raspberries and I was like, oh, I'll just use my raspberry marker because it's like the perfect colour, and then I went and I picked it out and I was like, oh no. And it was there and it was RV and I was like, no. So then I ended up having to make them, I think it was called berry red, which was, it was close, but they just kind of blended in with the other ones. Like, there's a very slight difference. It's really hard to see it on camera, but in real life you can tell they're just slightly different. So I ended up going over them with I think it was a raspberry coloured pencil, a Prismacolor one it was in the end, and darkened them up a bit. So that was, and that's more of a red rather than a sort of purpley red, but it's still a really nice colour. Okay, so a couple of videos back I was outlining with my Uniball Signo Broad gel pen, and I had some issues with it being a little bit too broad at times, so I've invested in this hybrid Signo gel grip pen. It's basically the same sort of ink that's in the other one, it's just in a sort of thinner line, so it worked. It was alright, but I found the end did get sort of gunked up quite a lot, so every time I take it off I'm sort of wiping it in my fingers and cleaning it off, because I found that rubbing it on the paper didn't really clean the ball of gel that was off the end. So now I'm going in with this gold one, and I don't know what happened to the ink in this. It kind of separated a bit. It was more sort of gel than actual glitter, so it finally started working again up here, so I had to wait for it to dry down a little bit before I could go back over, and you can see the differences so much. It went from being sort of clear liquid with a few bits of glitter to looking like actual molten gold, so that was quite good. And I stand by my gold is just metallic yellow, so I can use it. I ended up using the Uniball Broad one to outline her, because it, as much as it does gunk up a bit, it gunks up less than the thinner one, and I also wanted her to sort of pop off the page a bit more. So that, and the fact that I wanted to sharpen up some of the edges where the marker had bled out around her hair, and around the places where I wanted a really thin sort of sharp point. It was also a little bit awkward to go around the left hand side of her, because where I had to layer up that gold gel pen twice, it was still semi-wet, so I ended up having to kind of balance my hand really awkwardly so that I didn't stick my arm in it. So when you see me a bit later get into the left hand side and I've looked like I've got strained my wrist, I haven't, it's just I'm trying not to put my hand in it. But overall I like the way it turned out. It's not a colour palette that I often use, but doing this has definitely made me a bit more comfortable with it. I'm probably going to use more reds and oranges and yellows, definitely that sunflower yellow colour, in more of my artwork, because I really did like the way that you could blend them together, and I really did like the colour harmony that it has, and it makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, which is nice, especially around winter. But I think that there would be a couple of bits that I would change if I was to do it again. Something more with the background, because it as much as it is a bit more broken up, it still kind of looks like there's a lot of branches and then just green. but I'm not entirely sure how to build on that without making it just look like a complicated mess. But like I said, I've still got the image line art, so I could always print it out and try again. But yeah, here's where I made it look a little bit less sort of dead cold stare, but gotta have some sparkles, magic sparkles. So I did that with the gold and the white. But overall, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I had to think, which is more fun than just using your same old colour palettes where you just go on autopilot. But yeah, I was happy with the way it turned out, and thank you for watching. Bye!